Jacob Blake, shot 7 times in the back in broad daylight in front of his 3 young sons. 7 times in the back in broad daylight in front of his 3 young sons. As Vice President Biden put it, the shots fired at Mr. Blake pierced the soul of our nation. People are rightfully angry and exhausted. And after the murders of Breonna and George and Ahmaud and so many others, it's no wonder people are taken to the streets. And I support them. We must always defend peaceful protest and peaceful protesters. We should not confuse them with those looting and committing acts of violence, including the shooter who was arrested for murder. And make no mistake, we will not let these vigilantes and extremists derail the path to justice. Justice. Let's talk about that. Because the reality is that the life of a black person in America has never been treated as fully human. And we have yet to fulfill that promise of equal justice under law. We will only achieve that when we finally come together to pass meaningful police reform and broader criminal justice reform and acknowledge, yes, acknowledge and address systemic racism. The Republican convention is designed for one purpose: to soothe Donald Trump's ego, to make him feel good. But here's the thing. He's the President of the United States. And it's not supposed to be about him. It's supposed to be about the health and the safety and the well-being of the American people. And on that measure, Donald Trump has failed. Donald Trump has failed at the most basic and important job of a president of the United States. He failed to protect the American people. Plain and simple. Trump showed that we in the legal profession would call a reckless disregard for the well-being of the American people. A reckless disregard for the danger a pandemic would pose to American lives. It's his duty. It's his obligation to protect us. And yet, he has failed miserably. Here's the thing. Donald Trump's incompetence is nothing new. That has always been on full display. But in January of this year, it became deadly.
Bitch, I be up in the way. Greetings, my fellow Americans. I am Clarence Henderson. There have been movements that have changed the course of history. Among the most extraordinary was the Civil Rights Movement. 60 years ago, segregation was legal and enforced. The simple act of sitting at a lunch counter could lead to physical harm, jail time, or worse. I know from personal experience. By sitting down to order a cup of coffee, we challenged injustice. We knew it was necessary, but we didn't know what would happen. We faced down the KKK. We were cursed at and called all kinds of names. They threatened to kill us, and some of us were arrested, but it was worth it. Our actions inspired similar protests throughout the South against racial injustice. And in the end, segregation was abolished, and our country moved a step closer to true equality for all. That's what actual peaceful protest can accomplish. America isn't perfect. We're always improving. But the great thing about this country is that it's not where you come from, it's where you're going. Voters all over the country who media is trying to convince to conform to the same old Democratic talking points. You know what that'll get you? The same old results. Joe Biden had the audacity to say, if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. Well, to that, I say, if you do vote for Biden, you don't know history. Donald Trump is not a politician. He's a leader. Politicians are a dime a dozen. Leaders are priceless. The record funding Trump gave HBCUs is priceless, too. So are the record number of jobs he created for the black community and the investment he drove into our neighborhoods with tax incentives in opportunity zones. And so are the lives he restored by passing criminal justice reform, where 91% of the inmates released are black. These achievements demonstrate that Donald Trump truly cares about black lives. His policies show his heart. He has done more for black Americans in 4 years than Joe Biden has done in 50. Donald Trump is offering real and lasting change, an unprecedented opportunity to rise, a country that embraces the spirit of the civil rights movement of the 60s, a place where people are judged by the content of their character, their talents and abilities, not by the color of their skin. This is the America I was fighting for 60 years ago. This is the America Donald Trump is fighting for today. Let's all join in this fight for re-electing President Trump on November 3rd. Thank you.
Girl, she my classic bunny. Go with me to the club when I'm throwing all this money. My comfort girl, think about her all the time. I smack her from behind just to show you that she mine. Have her, have her, have her, mine. Have her, have her, have her, mine. Have her, have her, have her, never, never, never.
I'm like jumping jack. She like hopscotch. I had to hit it in her office cause she top notch. Ain't no asking questions, ain't no but wise. Ain't no telling when I might slick drive. Just let a nigga shove it. Don't matter cause you corporate. Plus you a secretary. That means I know you love it. Plus you a pretty lady. That's why I call you baby. You let me hit it how I want to, all the other shady. You turn me up and turn me on cause you a business lady. I applied for this job, I like the way you pay me. You cut the check first, but number two, you lay me. I call it all in one, we put it on it
She my
daily.
corporate girl, she my classic bunny. Go with me to the club when I'm throwing all this money. My corporate girl, think about her all the time. I smack her from behind just to show you that she mine.
I'm getting a lot of neck, I pimp that giraffe. I don't work for one, I'm hitting the whole staff. You got a better job, that told just make me laugh. I put my pimping down, don't need no pen and pad. Up in the skyscraper, my job you wish you had. Like a hefty bag, sometimes I think I'm glad. Like Mike, I think I'm bad. I got it from my dad, then made it out of fad. Be cool, don't talk no trash. This how the women do it. Reverse and get my cash. All I do is smash, then I make a dash. Just tell the unknown truth. This how most women act. You don't believe me, they will deceive you. You can't retrieve me. Slick eye is foolproof. Too busy blue gazing, I'm seeing through you. My game recognize your game. Alright, boo. My game recognize you lame. Alright,
She my corporate girl, she my classic bunny. Take her with me to the club when I'm throwing all this money. She my corporate girl, think about her all the time. I smack her from behind just to show you that she mine.
I humbly accept your nomination to run and serve as Vice President of the United States. My fellow Americans, we're passing through a time of testing. But in the midst of this global pandemic, just as our nation had begun to recover, we've seen violence and chaos in the streets of our major cities. President Trump and I will always support the right of Americans to peaceful protest. But rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Tearing down statues is not free speech. And those who do so will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Last week, Joe Biden didn't say one word about the violence and chaos engulfing cities across this country. So let me be clear. The violence must stop, whether in Minneapolis, Portland, or Kenosha. Too many heroes have died defending our freedom to see Americans strike each other down. We will have law and order on the streets of this country for every American of every race and creed and color. Joe Biden would double down on the very policies that are leading to violence in America's cities. The hard truth is, you won't be safe in Joe Biden's America. And under President Trump, we will always stand with those who stand on the thin blue line, and we're not going to defund the police, not now, not ever. When you consider their agenda, it's clear. Joe Biden would be nothing more than a Trojan horse for the radical left. The choice in this election has never been clearer, and the stakes have never been higher. In this election, it's not so much whether America will be more conservative or more liberal, more Republican or more Democrat. The choice in this election is whether America remains America.
I inches. That bitch gave a smile, but that don't my interest. These niggas is mad cause I went independent. Your nigga gon' get it, your nigga ain't finished. I stepped in the trap just to cook and replenish. I shoot out your spot, I'm gon' put out a blemish. No nigga, I don't give a fuck about my image. I snatch off a pendant and now you offended. Your nigga is trendy, he wearing some fitted. That nigga watch who he pulled up in the Bentley. Your bitch is so icky, I handle her gently. And she gon' fuck really, I got the real bitch. Your nigga is pretty, he tear out plenty. Your trap her addicted with his brand new city. Independent alone, like my name is no limit. This cash I got plenty, this bag is expensive. I'm getting this money, but came from the trenches. I made out my wages by jugging them fish in the booth. I just made me a track and then mixed it. Whipping the crack and then back to the business. My bitch got my back and she washing them dishes. Your nigga is doing this shit for some digits. My hands yeah, they itching, this cash is not flexing. The bandit was dipping and now your bitch missing. Gone. They see at the bottom, but I see at the top. This music ain't gon' stop. Money over time the clock. You know how I rock. Yes, I dare with plenty sauce. They serving down the block. Steady asking for a drop. I came from the block. 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 Hurry on the track, nigga. Do this thing one time. Project on the way. They get it. You know what I'm talking about. Behind the boards like real